One sunny afternoon, in a town not too far away, there was a group of kids at math club. This wasn't any ordinary day, though. It was the famous Pi Day. And the star of the day was Jake, a boy who loved math and lollipops. The teacher, Mr. Peterson, gave the class a challenge. Whoever can solve today's math riddle gets a giant lollipop. He held up the biggest, swirliest lollipop anyone had ever seen. Jake's eyes grew wide as saucers. He needed that lollipop. The riddle was written on the board. If pi is 3.14, what happens when a square meets the ground? Jake scratched his head. Pi and a square on the ground? That doesn't make any sense. But he wasn't going to give up. His friend Molly, who sat next to him, whispered, "Maybe the square falls flat, like when you drop a book?" Jake thought about it, but shook his head. Nah, too easy. Just then, Jake had an idea. He ran outside to the playground, and Molly followed, curious. Jake grabbed a stick and drew a square in the dirt. "Let's see what happens when the square meets the ground," he said excitedly. They both stared at the square and waited. Nothing happened. Molly blinked. Jake, it's just a square in the dirt." Jake sighed. "I thought I was onto something." Suddenly, Mr. Peterson walked over laughing. "Jake, you've got the right spirit. But remember, the riddle is about math. When pi meets a square, it's talking about the formula for a circle." He winked. "The answer is pi times the square of the radius." Jake groaned and laughed at the same time. "Of course, pi and a square. I totally forgot about the circle stuff." Even though Jake didn't win the giant lollipop, Mr. Peterson gave him a smaller one for trying so hard. And from that day on, Jake promised he'd never forget what happens when pi and squares meet, especially when a lollipop was involved.